To authenticate with the Bill.com API webhook, follow these steps. First, create a developer account on the Bill.com website and obtain an API key and API secret. These credentials are required to authenticate your API requests. Next, choose an authentication method, either OAuth or API keys. OAuth is recommended for most use cases, as it provides more security and flexibility. To use OAuth, register your application on the Bill.com developer portal and obtain a client ID and client secret. Then, redirect the user to the Bill.com authorization URL, where they will be prompted to grant access to your application. After granting access, Bill.com will redirect the user back to your application with an authorization code. Use this code to obtain an access token, which is required to make API requests. To authenticate with API keys, include the API key and API secret in the API request header. However, this method is less secure than OAuth and should only be used for testing or internal applications. When making API requests, include the access token or API key and secret in the request header. Bill.com uses standard HTTP authentication methods, such as basic auth or bearer tokens. Make sure to handle errors and exceptions properly, and use secure communication protocols, such as HTTPS, to protect sensitive data. Best practices for authenticating with the Bill.com API include using secure storage for sensitive credentials, implementing proper error handling, and monitoring API usage to prevent abuse. By following these steps and best practices, you can securely authenticate with the Bill.com API webhook and integrate its functionality into your application. Key concepts to remember include the importance of using secure authentication methods, handling errors and exceptions properly, and protecting sensitive data. By understanding these concepts and following the steps outlined in this guide, you can successfully authenticate with the Bill.com API webhook and start building your application. In summary, authenticating with the Bill.com API webhook requires obtaining API credentials, choosing an authentication method, and including the access token or API key and secret in the request header. By following these steps and best practices, you can securely integrate the Bill.com API into your application and start taking advantage of its functionality.